Hey everybody, this is JMPL GT4, and I'm about to give my A&M overall prediction for the year. I'm going to break it down game by game right quick for you guys, what I think the result will be, win, loss, and what the score I predict might be. Start off with SFA, Stephen F. Austin. I don't want to take anything away from these guys. These guys had an explosive offense this last year. We're playing at Kyle Field. They're not at the same level. They played teams last year who can't compare to half of the schools that A&M's playing this year. I mean, they're playing teams like Texas State, Nichols State, Southeastern Louisiana, McNeese State, Lamar. I mean, I'm not, nothing away from those guys either. It's just those aren't the type of teams that A&M typically plays, and that was a thing that I've been hearing the last couple of days about. Oh, the Stephen F. Austin team. I've been hearing that Stephen F. Austin's going to win, but simply that they're going to come out and they're going to do a good job, which I have no doubt. I think they're going to come out and try their hardest. But as far as whether or not they can compare to an A&M team, good or bad, I still think A&M pulls off a win, even if they go in and play horribly. I hope that doesn't happen. I hope it's going to be more like the result that I'm predicting for that game. Um, uh, like I said, playing in College Station, I'm predicting A&M to win, score 49-14. We move on next to Louisiana Tech next weekend, the 11th. I'm actually going to be there at that game. Now, not to take anything away from Louisiana Tech either, they're a good team in some aspects. I'm sure I don't really know much about them, but and they do play some teams that have been noticed here as of late, and they actually have one big game on the schedule, that being Boise State on October 26th. So you can't take anything away from those guys saying that they have an easy schedule. They got a couple of games on there that for them will probably be really tough, but could also make a name for themselves at the same time if they pull off the wins. I still don't think they're playing the same caliber teams as A&M's going to have to endure throughout the season, but it's a step in the right direction for those guys. Again, we're playing at Kyle Field, September 11th. I'm predicting A&M to win that game 56-17. We move on to our next game, Florida International. I'm not even going to say that this team is going to get blown out by A&M. I mean, I think we're going to whoop them, but I don't think we're going to blow them out. They definitely have some decent teams on the schedule that for themselves that will pose a pretty good test for those guys at Florida International, playing Maryland, Pittsburgh. There's a couple of teams on there that could possibly provide a pretty good test for the guys over at Florida. And anytime you play a team from Florida, you got to always watch out. They always seem to have a trick up their sleeve somehow. They always have really good athletes coming out of Florida schools. So I still pick A&M to win. They're playing College Station again for the third week in a row. I pick A&M to win that game 42-24. We move on next to our first conference game of the year. We're playing Oklahoma State. We have to travel up to Stillwater, so it's our first true away game for the season. Oklahoma State, they lost a couple of key players. I believe they lost Russell Okung on defense. They lost Zach Robinson, their starting QB of several years. On offense, they lost Dez Bryant, who we all probably know about Dez Bryant. He's an outstanding wide receiver who was drafted in the NFL this year. I know they have a couple of good players still coming back on offense, and not to take anything away from those guys, but they barely beat A&M last year, I believe. I'd have to look into the score, but I think the last time we met, I think A&M's defense wasn't as good as it's going to be this year, number one, and number two, I don't think Oklahoma State's going to have the weapons they had last year and played against A&M with. So I'm predicting A&M to win in Stillwater with a score of 35-21. Move on to This should be an exciting game, and I think anybody who has an opportunity to watch this game should definitely tune in on the 9th of October. It's Arkansas. We're playing Arkansas, the Razorbacks. For this, for me, you're either going to hear me talk about, you might hear me mention toss-up, but I'm always going to give you win or loss and for what team and the score. This game against Arkansas, I'm going to say that it's a toss-up game. Either team could easily win this game. Not easily, but I'm saying it could go either way with the win for either Arkansas or A&M. I think A&M's offense is going to be a little more explosive than it was last year. I think we're going to have some players that we didn't have at this time last year. One being Jeff Fuller. We're going to have an improved Cyrus Gray and Kristen Michael. I think we'll be able to spread Arkansas out and potentially put a huge amount of points on the board, and I expect Arkansas to do the same. I think what it's all going to come down to, it's going to come down to just, I think, pure luck in this game. I don't think there's going to be any aspect of the game that's really going to define the win for either team in this game. I am giving A&M the edge, but just barely. Like I said, it is a toss-up game. It could go for either team. But I'm thinking that A&M might win about 42, score 42-38 for Arkansas. We'll move on to Missouri. That's our next game at home. My thing about Big 12 North schools, I really just don't have a lot of respect for them other than Nebraska. I think the Big 12 North is going to be a really crappy part of the Big 12 this year, aside from Nebraska. Maybe I'm completely wrong about that, but I don't see what's going on with the Big 12 North right now. Missouri, we all know Blaine Gabbert's there. I'm sure he has some talented wide receivers and maybe a couple of backs that are pretty decent, but I still don't think they compare to A&M and their offense. There have been several people I've heard that have said, just coming straight out and saying, you know what, A&M probably has the most explosive offense in the Big 12 this year. And there's no denying that that's a very good possibility and maybe even a fact. I think A&M wins this game at home against Missouri with a score of 42-21. We move on to our next road game on the 23rd against Kansas. We're playing up there at their house. Nothing against Kansas. Again, they're a Big 12 North team. I just said that I think it's going to be a crappy part of the conference. But you got Turner Gill, new head coach. I think they're going to have to transition into what he wants to do in the football program. They have some decent players, but you know what? It's going to take them a little while to get to that marquee program like Turner Gill would like to turn them into. I say we win big at Kansas. We'll score 49-14. We move on next to Texas Tech at home in College Station. I'm going to modify the score that I'd originally put down on here right now. Initially, I'd put that A&M would win 45-24. I think it might be a little bit better of a game than that than I was originally expecting, just by looking at. I don't know. I mean, Texas Tech is always a scary team, so you can never really underestimate those guys. They do have a new head coach, Tommy Tuberville. We are playing at home. We do have an explosive offense. So do they. Their offense at the moment with the new head coach, maybe he wants to do something different. I've heard that he wants to change it up. They're not going to pass it as much. They might do a little running. They do have some talented running backs, and Baron Batch, he's awesome. But, hopefully A&M's defense will step up to the plate at home behind, in front of a 12th man crowd that, hopefully will be make some sort of an impact on the game for the Aggies. I say we win that game 45-35 at home against Texas Tech. Moving on now to our next game. This is another toss-up game. This is the second of 4 toss-up games that I have, allotted for. On November 6th, we play Oklahoma. It says toss-up game. We're playing at home. That is going to be a key factor for the Aggies, I believe, playing at home in front of a home crowd and potentially looking at maybe being at this point 8-0 if things go A&M's way, and if not, at worst, looking at it, I mean, there's only one team in that seven game stretch that I just named off that could possibly beat A&M, who has a very good chance of beating A&M, that being Arkansas. So we could possibly go in undefeated at this point against Oklahoma, whereas Oklahoma, they play Texas a little bit before us. They're either going to come in undefeated or they're going to come in with a loss. I think that this is going to be a decent, this is going to be a hell of a game for the Aggies. Like I said, we're playing at home. You can't take anything away from those guys. They're so talented. Landry Jones came in last year after Bradford was injured. He played pretty decent. I mean, he played good. Okay, he had some freshman blues, but you know what? He's got a year under his belt, and he's a better man for it at this time. So you can't take anything away from the hard work that Landry Jones put in all last season in a tough situation for a true freshman, or for a freshman. I don't know if he's a true freshman or not, but you know, it's definitely going to be a tough task. I know OU has a talented defensive squad as well. It's going to be a close game. I'm predicting, actually, on this one, it's hurting me to say it, but I'm predicting OU to win at 35-31. But, again, it could go either way, like I said before. Next, we go over to Waco, play Baylor. I think they have a little bit too much riding on Robert Griffin. I understand that he's back, he's good, he's healthy, he's stronger than he was last year, but, you know, you see what happened to Colt McCoy last year in the national championship game. One small injury like that, and could do away with your whole season. You know, I mean, I know that was in the last game of the year, but you know, who knows how long Colt McCoy would have been out. If it would have been earlier in the season, he might have been out for a few games, and then you know, he kind of might be favoring that arm, or in this case, Robert Griffin might be favoring his leg. I think we go over there and take care of business at Baylor. I think we win 28-14. Moving on to Nebraska, this is the third of 4 toss-up games that I have allotted for right now. They come back, play at A&M in College Station. This is going to be a hell of a game. I really think this is going to be a hell of a game, and I think it's going to come down to A&M has got to play decent defense, and A&M has got to play their best offense in order to win this game against Nebraska. I think they can do both. I'm giving A&M the edge at home against Nebraska, 21-17. We'll move on to our final game of the year with the Texas Longhorns. This very well could be, if A&M has a very productive and a very successful year, this could be the game that determines who's going to play for the Big 12 championship game. It could be for the conference, for the Southern Conference for the Big 12, and depending on how many waves and what happens across the nation, it could very well be a bid for the BCS title game. Who knows at this point? And I'm not saying that A&M's going to go in and compete for a BCS championship. That's not what I'm saying at all. But you never know what can happen. Everybody that's in the top 10 right now could flop, and teams that you wouldn't have expected could be up there near the top. But I don't think Texas can replicate the type of offense that Colt McCoy, Jordan Shipley put up against A&M last year. I don't see it happening. I think that they're going to have a hell of a time defending a couple of guys, Demontre Moore, as well as Von Miller. I think they're going to have a hard time. I think they're going to make Garrett Gilbert's life a living hell. They are playing in Austin, but I give A&M the edge, 24-17 winning that game. That's all I got for now. This is JMPL GT4. Gig 'em, bleed moon forever, and we'll see you guys later.